Okay, so what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane video. So today's video, I'm going to be explaining something that I haven't told many people about, and that was my first crush. One thing I realized is that a lot of people, they want to really know your first time experiences, either when it's your first hard-on, it's your first time, being in a fight, which, funny enough, is actually one of the biggest videos on my channel with over 2 million views. But today, I'm going to be telling you guys a story about my first crush. That is right, the story about how I basically started becoming a helpless romantic. It's a really good story, and honestly, to this day, I still think about it and think, what is she doing now? Actually, I know what she's doing now. I follow her on Instagram. By the way, you guys should follow me on Instagram right now. Link in the description down below. But anyways, let's get straight into this story. So this story, funny enough, takes place back in grade 4. That is right, literally grade 4. Now, when you're in grade 4, I'm gonna be honest here, you are super young, and love wasn't really a thing that you actually understood in grade 4. I don't know about nowadays. If you're in grade 4 right now, tell me, are you guys in love? Because in my mind, I don't know if it's really love or not at such a young age. Like, don't get me wrong, I know like in middle school there's like loves and everything. In high school there's actual like people trying to experience love, but in grade 4, you gotta understand, in grade 4 you have the mindset of basically an undeveloped mind. Basically, your mind isn't developed enough to really understand things, but at the same time you really start to picture things with your eyes and start learning your way of life, I guess, in some way. But anyways, I remember back in grade 4, it was my first year going into it, and when I walked into my classroom, I started hanging out with my friends. When I started hanging out with my friends, I remember one of my friends that were really young told me, hey, I was wondering if you want to do a play date. I'm having friends over at my house and we're gonna watch a movie, but my parents aren't gonna be there. There's gonna be this babysitter, but she's barely there, so we can like go hang out. I remember he ended up telling me this, and he had a little bit of a lisp, but he was a really good kid. And I remember basically my parents already knew about him, and my parents let me go to his house. I remember I ended up texting my mom on my little iPod 4. If you guys don't remember, iPod 4s were like the coolest thing ever, by the way. Like, I love my iPod. I don't have it anymore because, well, it's outdated, but still, if you had an iPod back then, please comment down below. It's actually pretty neat. And basically, I ended up texting my mom saying I'm going to my friend's house because he didn't live that far from me either way. I remember after school, his mom ended up picking us up and dropping us at the house, and then she instantly left. And then afterwards, like once we got inside the house, there's already a babysitter there waiting for us. Now, I don't like babysitters, but luckily this babysitter was not really in the way of things and kind of just, did her own thing, I guess. But for me, I kind of just ignored her and kind of just started hanging out with my friend. Now, the thing about this kid that I was friends with, a little context behind him, he was a good kid when parents were around, but when his parents weren't around and no adults were around, he would be pretty naughty. So I remember what he decided to do was tell me, yo, okay, Baba, what we're gonna do, okay, we're gonna go to my parents' room, we're gonna take the DVD, and there's like a movie on it, like really hot girl. Let's watch it. Now, I had no idea anything about hot girls. I really didn't understand anything about it. Like I said, girls weren't really my mindset at the time other than playing video games. Like, my favorite video game back then was even Call of Duty, funny enough. Like I usually say in these stories, it was funny enough, the game Lego Star Wars. It's a really good game. It still hits childhood to this day and is what made me love Star Wars to this day. But I remember basically we ended up going in his parents' room and we ended up taking this DVD. It was a movie about some girl and I don't know, some romantic stuff, but there was a rated R scene. Now, I'm not gonna really explain what happens in the scene, but let's just say it is doing the Devil's Tango. And I remember we ended up going inside downstairs to his bedroom where he had a TV because this kid was like rich or something. And we ended up putting the DVD in, and let's just say we ended up watching the movie. And in this movie, even though there was the Devil's Tango, I started to learn about something that I really wanted, and that was love. Don't get me wrong, it was really cool to see, a pair of giant like knockers, and it was really neat seeing how like, doing the Devil's Tango actually worked. But for me, honestly, the main thing I wanted to learn was how to fall in love. And that's what I ended up doing. I think this was like the stage of where I became a helpless romantic. I remember I basically started like going through this thing and, started really understanding how basically the guy wanted the girl and the girl wanted the guy. I don't remember what movie this was, but it was a really good movie. And basically from there, I remember the next day at school, right as I entered into the classroom, I kind of just started looking for the signs of my first love. Now, when you're a kid, you're overdramatic about everything. I'm gonna be honest. I won't lie to you. So I remember I would look around the classroom and instantly I looked at one girl in my class that was actually one of a kind. I looked at her and we're just gonna call her Madeline for the rest of this video. Her name's not actually Madeline, but we're just gonna call her that. I remember I saw Madeline sitting in front of me, and I remember she turned her head around, whipped her hair, and for some reason in my mind, I pretended it was like slow motion and that she looked at me. And I can say at that moment, I think I fell in love. It sounded so weird saying that in grade 4, but I don't know. Like I said, I was a helpless romantic. So from that day forth, I remember I made it my mission to fall in love with this girl in the most weirdest way possible. Now, it sounds weird saying that, but in reality, I think we all like do this especially when we're young, or even sometimes nowadays I still do this, where basically I put a scenario in my head and I try to fulfill it. Either you sometimes, people put music in their ears pretending they're in a concert, like in the shower. they usually do it. Or, you know, when they're driving or walking or doing anything, they start putting themselves in a position where they feel like they have a camera on them being the next biggest actor. So I remember I basically did the same thing. I pretended, you know, every time I would talk to her, I would talk as if I was in a movie. Every time I like approached her, I pretended it was like some romantic love scene. And one thing led to another. It became really embarrassing because, you know, most kids that age don't really understand love. For me, I remember one time we were doing my PE class. PE, like physical education class. It's like having gym time, okay? It was literally called gym time back when I was a kid. And basically, I remember I went in there and we had to choose a dance partner because we were doing like some kind of like cool dance thing that we were doing. And me, I remember the teacher ended up saying, all right, class, we're going to be doing ballroom dancing. So girls, pair up with a guy and do what you can. I remember I ended up pairing up with Madeline, and me and her, we started dancing and dancing, and I treated it as if we were in a ballroom dancing romantically, like Beauty and the Beast somewhat. I remember as we were dancing, I looked at her and I told her, you are so beautiful, as if I was like, you know, in some movie. And she looked at me all odd, but then she started giggling and laughing. I had no idea why until I realized, fun fact, girls' minds mature faster than the male. I don't know if she already knew what love was, but she started liking me after I called her that. She started, you know, messaging me on my iPod. She started, you know, talking to me, and it got to the point where she even, I will say this, basically gave me a card and we started passing cute notes to each other in grade 4. To this day, I thought I was in love with her. And then afterwards, grade 5 came around and there was a hotter girl and I kind of just ended up moving on. I guess this is where my player stages started really happening. I don't know. But all I'm gonna say is that that was my first crush, Madeline. And to this day, I remember I ended up running back into her in middle school and things became really awkward. But you know what? I think that's a story for another time. Anyways, guys, that's basically it for today's story. I know it's not anything insane. I don't do the devil's tango. But you gotta understand, my first crush was where basically my story starts, towards loving women. Or yeah, I guess that makes sense. Anyways, like I always say, fall for more embarrassing but crazy story. Peace out, guys.